It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Hello, everybody. I'm David Bosca.
I'm Neil Cooley.
And we have a guest today. Oh, sorry about that. I jumped on him. Who are you?
I'm Lincoln Tapp.
That's it, Lincoln Tapp, man. We're going to just let this play out.
That's good.
Oh, well, that was enough.
Dave's figured out how to cue the music in and out and fade it.
I didn't know if y'all were pointing at me or if that was my cue or, you know.
Hey, that's the way we are about this, man. We just kind of fly by the seat of our pants. I got one more down here, but I don't know if it would. I mean, we could have gone.
It doesn't have quite the level of energy.
That's right. That's right.
Well, how have you guys been?
We've been doing good. What have you been up to?
Man, we just working. I'm working for my dad this summer. Back at home. I'm in my last semester of college at Oklahoma State. And so this summer while I'm off, I'm working for dad here at home, doing commercial real estate stuff and not doing near as much hunting as I'd like to. That's what I've been up to. So, yeah.
What are you hunting this time of year? Kind of the summer months. Did you get to chase some turkeys?
Yeah, no, I didn't get after the turkeys this year. I've been giving them a break. I went out one time, and I'm ashamed to say that I missed a turkey with a shotgun. So that was a big pride blow for me. I figured I'm going out there. I'm just gonna cheat, use the shotgun, not use my bow, and then sure enough, I end up missing a big old gobbler. But I guess I should just go back to the bow and stick to what I'm good at. But yeah, nothing really no hunting really going on right now. Just trying to find a big old deer around here at home, putting up cameras and stuff like that. So
you're gearing up for being done with school and getting to hunt this, or you're going back in the fall for one last semester?
Yeah, I've got one last semester here in the fall, and so I'm trying to figure out what's feasible to cover this fall, and getting spots that I think are going to be easy to make it to while I'm still in school and stuff like that. So yeah.
Now you're out at OSU for everybody listening, right?
Yes, sir. Oklahoma State.
Big deer country. We got some good. There's good deer running around out there, man.
There are. Oklahoma is underrated, man. It's a great state to hunt whitetails, and everywhere I've been in the state, there's an opportunity to find a big buck. You just got to know where they're hiding out at. So
what's your favorite to go hunting here in Oklahoma?
I would say, I got to go with whitetail. I love the pursuit of whitetails. Just the cat and mouse game and the strategy about it, and finding these little pockets where these big bucks are hiding, where other people have maybe overlooked. And it is. Some people say it's a well-kept secret as a state, but at the same time, it's also a state where pretty much anybody who lives in the country either hunts or has a relative who hunts, and so they are a very high-pressure deer. And they've seen about everything. And so finding the pockets of bucks that have been untouched and might have something really special in them, that's the challenge that I really enjoy. And I go back to whitetail every time. It's super, super fun for me. So.
Well, you'd said you love finding these little pockets where other people overlook. What are you seeing? What are you seeing that other people don't, that you call overlook or pockets?
Yeah, I would say anywhere where hunting pressure has been low for a while, or where people have said that they've been hunting but they really haven't been hunting. Everybody's you go knocking doors, or you go ask somebody if you can lease their land for hunting. I would say, out where I grew up, 80% of the time they're going to say, yeah, I've got a cousin, or I've got a grandson, or I've got a nephew who hunts that. But honestly, the amount of times that really holds a ton of weight is pretty low, I would say. Like, what they're talking about is a guy who's going to come out there once or twice a year. And so those are places that could even be considered pockets that have been low pressure for a long time, that normally people would be like, oh man, somebody's hunting that. They've got all the bucks on there on lock. But in reality, they're going out there once or twice a year, and that's not enough to really know what's there. And so there's bucks that on properties that quote unquote have been hunted that will never get seen. And so those are the places that I like to key into for sure.
Little 10-acre deer that never leave except for during the rut, and they pretty much have a home range, and
Yeah,
nobody knows about them.
exactly.
It's great, dude. So, do you want to stick to Oklahoma hunting, or you want to branch out just a little bit? Because I want to know where you're going outside the state.
Yeah, I would love to branch out. I really am pretty whitetail obsessed right now because it's pretty accessible for me. The old dad and I kind of worked out a deal for getting the Super Slam done and getting that, all taken care of. And now it's kind of more on me at this point. And so the whitetail is really something that I can afford to go do, and something that, I can go do really anytime I want. And so I have a buddy who owns a ranch in Ohio, and I would like to go to Ohio this year and see if I can hunt whitetails up there. And then I've got another friend who owns a place in Missouri. And so I'd like to go and just try my hand at those different deer and hunting deer in those different environments. And I find that challenge of just, being dropped in a place and having to figure it out really fun. And these places that I hunt around here, I watch them so much that at times it's like the mystery is taken away unless you're, trying to get on a new property. I kind of know what's going to be there. And so the idea of going somewhere where I don't know what is there, what has been there, how much it's been hunted. I'm just kind of going in there blind and putting a camera up or putting a stand up. That stuff's really fun sounding to me. So I think I'm going to try to make it up to those two places this year and try my hand at that. And then as far as non-whitetail, I just booked a trip to go aoudad hunting in West Texas at the end of September. And so that's my next hunt. And then I'll be hammering the ducks this winter back here at home. And so that's kind of what has been taking up a lot of my time recently is whitetail ducks. And then I love hunting the Texas exotics. I mean, it's super. I mean, of all the animals I've been blessed to hunt in North America, I would say that the Texas axis or aoudad free ranging poses a really, really awesome challenge, and it's a fun hunt. And so I try to get down there to hunt those anytime I can.
For everybody following along at home, Lincoln was, tell me if I'm saying this wrong, the youngest person to complete the Super Slam with a bow.
Yes, sir. Right? Yeah. Youngest with any weapon, but yes, sir, with a bow as well.
We skipped over that part in the intro, man. We usually just like to bring you on and get you talking, and we'll worry about telling everybody who you are and what you did afterwards.
Hey, it's all good.
Between the time you started that Super Slam and you finished it, how many bows did you go through? Because obviously you started pretty young, but you also finished pretty young.
Yeah, I started the first animal I actually counted towards the Super Slam was my first whitetail with a bow. I killed some deer with a crossbow before that, but my first whitetail with a bow was when I was 10 years old. And then my first traveling hunt I went on, I was 11. And then I finished the Super Slam harvesting my final animal, which was the polar bear on the Super Slam at age 20. And so during that 10-year period, I would say I went through between 20 and 25 bows.
Oh, wow.
And so I usually had a backup that I would take. I had a double bow case. And so I'd usually, on these big traveling hunts where you're going out into the middle of nowhere, I mean, archery equipment is so much less reliable. Like if you're looking at it, if you're somebody who thinks of everything super logically and just all you can think of is the practicality and the reliability of something, you're not going to be a bow hunter because, I mean, a single cut or snap string could end your entire hunt. And honestly, out there, if you break a string off a bow or something like that, where you have to tune that bow to get it back working, I mean, you don't have the resources you really need out there. I mean, you could bring a kind of an emergency kit, which I did, but I would bring a whole setup backup bow on the really remote hunts because if something really goes wrong, you don't have the time or the resources to put something brand new together and still finish out the hunt the way you need to. So,
well, tell us right now what your bow makeup is for hunting. What are you going out with this year?
Well, I've got the newest of the new Matthews. I've been a Matthews guy my entire time on the Super Slam, and I really really believe in what Matthews stands for, and so I've got my lift, and I love that bow. I really really love that bow. It's very quiet, very very dead in the hand. I mean, Matthews just keeps setting the bar higher with what they're able to do with lack of hand shock while also making the bow lighter, and so those are the two things that I really look for in a bow. At one point, I'd gone with a really short brace height bow in order to pick up speed because I was pulling lower poundage. And after that, I decided I wanted to go with smoothness and lack of hand shock a lot more than I did with speed. And so I really appreciate what Matthews is doing there with continuing to go down that road. So that's the bow setup I'm shooting. I shoot the new Ultra Rest, the Micro Ultra Rest, and then I shoot the Matthews, their new removable quiver. I shot the Matthews non-removable quiver for a long time because I loved how secure those arrows were in it. And so I shot that for a long time, even though I couldn't take it off my bow. I just honestly found that backcountry hunting, I wasn't taking my quiver off my bow near as much as you may think. And so I didn't need the removable quiver, but now this new removable quiver that they designed fits on the bow and holds the arrows just as secure as the old non-removable one. So that's what I run now, and I love it. And then arrows, I shoot Easton Axis long range, the .001 diameter or straightness, not diameter, 4 millimeter diameter. And I love those arrows. I've been an Easton guy all along as well. Love Easton arrows. I still shoot deep six components, even though a lot of people, have moved away from the deep six components. I love them because I think they're I find their tunability a little bit better, and I find their durability a lot better in micro diameter shafts. And so that's what I run. And then iron will broadheads is kind of what I've been on for a long time. So that's kind of the setup I'm rocking with this year and have been for a while now.
What's your sight?
Oh yeah, I left that one out. I've got the Excel landslide, so love that sight. Love it, love it. I've also been, I've been a spot hog guy in the past, and I've been Excel, and I shot CBE back when CBE was offering something that really worked for me. I shot I think it was the CBE Sniper Pro back when I was shooting a sight that was hard mounted on the bow. But now that I'm shooting a different style of sight, I've moved on to the Excel, and I love that sight. I love the adjustability of it. The pins aren't quite as durable as my old spot hog pins. That's the only complaint I have about it, but I love everything else about that sight. I really, 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 really love that sight. So,
what are you comfortable shooting out to with your broadheads and a live animal?
I would say it really depends. I always tell guides when they ask me that question, because I like to make guides think they got to get me real close, because I love close shots as much as anything. It doesn't matter how good I'm shooting and how confident I'm feeling. I love close encounters and close shots. But I tell people 60 yards on a first shot, out to 70 if I'm feeling really, really good. And then on a follow-up, I mean, I'll smoke one out to 100 if I need to. Follow-up, all bets are off for me. So I'm plugging arrows away as quick as I can if I've already got an arrow in that animal. And that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. You can't be selective about follow-up shots unless you think that unless you're very, very confident the animal's going to sit there and die in front of you. Get as many arrows in them as you can. And even if that means making a miss, sometimes you got to do it. So
part of the game we're playing, it's a lethal game. So yeah, I understand that. The best thing about bow hunting, I tell people, and you'd be probably the closest thing to a certified expert on killing species on this planet with a bow. I'm trying to see how close I can do it. Everybody wants to go shoot 80 yards, and if that's as close as that elk's going to come, or if you're caribou way out there, or God forbid it's one of those big bears. Like how close do you really want to get? But do you want to poke one at 80, 65? Okay, 47. Now we're talking. Okay, 32. That's a little close to be to a polar. How far was the polar bear? That's what I got it.
First shot was at 50, and then there's a whole a wild goose chase with the polar bear. First shot was at 50, and then I hit him a couple more times with follow-ups on the blood trail. I went after that bear quicker than I should have, quicker than any bear guide would have advised me to, especially without a backup gun. I ended up kind of accidentally abandoning the guide with the backup gun and my dad, and chased that bear for just over 5 miles. And on that 5 mile blood trail, I shot him a couple more times at varying yardages. I shot him, once at like 60, and then another time at 40, and then finally we got him down. But it was yeah. I mean, at 50 yards, the size of that bear it's hard to even describe. Like that thing. I was always every single bear I've ever shot. Honestly, I didn't shoot any giant bears during my Super Slam. I shot a grizzly, obviously, and a brown and a black bear. And my brown bear was like a 7.5 footer. They get up to 10 foot, and you can shoot a 7.5 foot black bear. So most people that have hunted black bears have heard or maybe even seen a 7 foot or 7.5 foot black bear. And so brown bear wasn't a giant by any means. Grizzly wasn't a giant by any means. So every bear that I've ever shot before that had kind of disappointed me with the size, as far as like, dude, I heard these things were like giant. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's a big animal, but it wasn't anything like the stories that I'd heard. And then the polar bear, man, it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. Bigger than a cow. I mean, it was absolutely giant. And we estimated its live weight to be scraping 1,000 pounds. And so, I mean, just the size of an animal like that, he squared, which I forget that exactly how they square it, but basically it's really close to what he would have been on his hind legs, nose and tail. He would have been around 9 foot, like 8 or 10. So he was a giant bear. I mean, just absolutely giant. And the layer of fat on those things, it's literally like everything else that lives up there, but it literally looks like whale blubber. I mean, the layer of fat is like 3 inches thick. And so I was, I'd done a heavy arrow setup, but I didn't go as crazy as I did with like the brown bear, because I blew through the brown bear with very kind of a small cut. And I was like, I'm going to prioritize cut more versus like a super, super heavy arrow on this hunt. And so I should have really done the opposite, because when I got up to that animal and saw how big that polar bear was and how thick that skin on them is, I was like, man, I honestly was a little bit undergunned on this one, but it ended up working out. So
did you set up a different bow for that hunt, like a specific bow for big stuff like that, or just same old? Same
bow. Just I tweaked my arrow setup. I don't like messing with my bow poundage necessarily, because I'm comfortable with what I'm comfortable with, and I don't want to mess with my ability to aim and shoot at all. But I will mess with my arrow weight, which, I mean, it's going to slow my bow down, but sometimes it's worth it with certain animals. Honestly, 95% of what I killed on the Super Slam, though, can be killed with one arrow. And a lot of guys who, if a guy draws a moose tag, or a guy, goes up moose hunting in Alaska and stuff, he's going to do all the research he can and be like, okay, what's the best arrow setup? And people are going to tell you, find the absolute heaviest arrow you can. And I blew through a Shiras moose with my standard arrow setup that I use on whitetail. And so it really, and I get away with a lot with having a micro diameter shaft too. I can't stress the importance of that in my personal setup enough. I think it's a night and day difference for me. And I've seen so much of a penetration improvement using micro diameter shafts. And so I can get away with a little bit of lighter arrow than what people would tell you to use on real big game.
So what other location, where have you been to harvest all these animals?
So I wrote it down the other day because I actually had to do it for a class project, but I've been to almost every province of Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Macedonia, Argentina, and a bunch of different states. But for just the Super Slam, that was exclusive to North America. So the Argentina and Macedonia and New Zealand, those were just other trips that we did post the Super Slam. But yeah, a lot of Canada stuff. I would say most of what we did was in Canada.
So does your family hunt also, or is this just something you took up?
Yeah, so I grew up watching my dad hunt a lot. He loved it. He didn't grow up a hunter, funny enough. He grew up in Indiana on a dairy farm, which would make you think that he had a lot of exposure to hunting growing up, but he wasn't necessarily a hunter growing up. But then he went to Abilene Christian University down in Texas, and he waited so long to get his housing and his living stuff figured out that they stuck him in the ag dorm, even though he wasn't an ag student. And so he got placed with a bunch of ag guys, and all of his friends were ag guys. And so obviously, Texas ag guys back in, 80s and 90s, those are, going to be some country boys, guys that love to hunt. And so they took my dad under their wing as far as hunting goes. And he learned a lot from them about hunting and just kind of fell in love with it. So by the time I, was born in 01 and, in the 2000s, my dad was like full steam ahead, big time bow hunter. He loved it. And so I grew up, and honestly, like the crossroads of like rifle hunter or bow hunter was never really a decision for me. It was more just like, that's the way we grew up doing it. My dad, his buddies that showed him were bow hunters, and it gives you a longer deer season in Oklahoma by a significant amount. And so that's just kind of what we always did. And so it was never necessarily a choice for me. It was more just like, this is what we do. It's just like, this is hunting is with a bow, just kind of from the beginning. So
for me, it was actually, I know the thing about having more deer season is the biggest point I tell people, but it was it was actually an antelope hunt. I think I was in 8th grade, so I was about 14, and I think I tagged one on the 2nd or 3rd day, and he'd made me do my homework because I wasn't so great at algebra. Maybe it was algebra 2. I can't remember. And I tagged this thing halfway through the hunt. And he goes, "Great, we'll drive all night and you'll be at class at 8 a.m. And I was like, I thought I got to miss a whole week. He goes, no, maybe if you was bow hunting, it might have took 4 or 5 days, but you wanted to use the 270. So back to school you go. I'm like, oh, yep. But yeah, so that was it for me.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I love it, and I don't think I could ever go back now. I've got nothing against rifle hunting whatsoever, but I don't think I could go back now. And back on the subject of the close shots versus far shots, I just, the ones that stick in my mind are the close encounters. And I grew up lucky enough to grow up on a piece of land that had a lot of deer on it, and so I was always practicing my game stalking skills and stuff like that. And getting close every single evening on my farm that I grew up on. And so the ones that stick in my mind to this day, and I'm really, really pumped about and happy about, are the ones where I really got to feel like I was in that animal's comfort zone and got there without them knowing I was there. I mean, it's just really, really cool. Because I have to pinch myself a lot of times, even on these hunts. It's just, these are hunts I never thought I'd get to do. And so, just being in the environment is very, very surreal in the first place. And then, when you're that close to that animal in its natural environment, there's just no feeling like it. And so, I shout out my buddy Levi Morgan all the time, but even Levi, the best shot in the world, would tell you that he loves the close encounters. I think, it's what drives us. It's what the passion of the sport, I think, is in the close encounters and getting to feel like you're right there with that animal. And Levi can, he can smoke something out to 150 yards if he wanted to, I bet. But that's just what's fun about it, is getting real close and challenging yourself to do so. And also, your percentages just go way up. You're making better shots and, making more ethical shots at close range, even if you have the ability to do it out of the farther yardage. So,
for those of y'all that are listening to this and don't know who Levi Morgan is, he's a kind of a somewhat well-known archer in all aspects. We'll just leave it at that.
He is. And an even greater person. So I've been very blessed to, become friends with Levi, and he's always been somebody that I've looked up to as a person and as a bow hunter. And so, yeah, it's been a super, super, super fun friendship for me. So,
let's use that segue, talking about the legends of target archery. You've talked about how you got started in hunting. How did your dad take you to some indoor shoots, some 3D shoots when you were young? Did you do, because I know you wound up hanging out at some tournaments with old Jack Simmons dragging you, getting you in trouble, and introducing you to all kinds of unsavory people. But how'd you get roped into that? Was that something that was always there, or is it something you'd recommend to people out there?
I got into that for honestly just to challenge myself, because I knew that as far as a bow hunter, my skill level, I would say, was always growing like this. But as far as an archer, my skill level, I felt, had kind of plateaued. And so I got into target archery for the same reasons that I think we see a lot of these guys, going to these tack shoots and everything like that these days. Honestly, just to challenge myself and to make myself a better archer. And some of the hunts that I have big dreams of going on one of these days are hunts where I could see myself having to take some really long shots, because I have buddies who have done the types of hunts that I dream of doing one day with a bow. And you really just have to be comfortable with making a good shot at a farther range. And so I started in competitive archery and target archery, and I'm not. I want to preface by saying I'm not good by any means. I'm not. I for 10, 15 years now, I've been shooting to kill, the animal that I'm hunting. And so teaching yourself to aim at a dot is a lot different, man. It's honestly, when I'm on a hunt, I kind of get in this mode where it's just pure focus, and I'm kind of letting the instincts take over because I've done it so many times. But having to be intentional about, okay, you're aiming, this is what you're aiming at, this is how this shot's going to break. It's a whole nother ballgame for me. And so I honestly, I got away with it. What it's taught me is I got away with having some bad habits for, a long time on the Super Slam, as far as just archery goes. I think my skill level as a bow hunter has always been there, but as an archer, I think there's always improvements to be made, and it's definitely highlighted some of those that I need to make. And that's what I love about it. I just want to keep growing. I never want to plateau. If this is a sport, if bow hunting is something that I want to do lifelong, and maybe do some things that people would consider kind of crazy, pushing the limits of what you can hunt with a bow, I want to be the best archer I can be. And so that's why I got into competitive archery. And it's funny because growing up, Jack Simmons, my best friend, lifelong best friend, I met him at Oklahoma Christian School, OCS, where we went to elementary together. And he's been my best friend ever since. He's my right-hand man. And so we grew up together. Our dads were really good friends. And so every time he would come over to our house, we would be shooting bows. I mean, both of our dads were into hunting at that point. And so, we'd just be shooting bows together. And it's kind of funny because Jack and I both, we were both into archery and we were both into shooting bows. And I mean, early on when I first got into it, my love for hunting was kind of equally matched with my love for shooting a bow. I would literally be out in the yard for like 3 hours a night shooting my bow, and I would just be, trying to put them in a little, quarter size dot at 20 yards every single time. And so that's kind of where that's kind of where I started out at. And Jack started out in the same exact place. And then he kind of, our paths kind of diverged, and he went the competition route and I went the hunting route. And it's kind of funny because we both took those two different things kind of to the end. And so it's, Jack's, I would say, in my personal opinion, he's top 5 archers in the state for sure, like without a doubt. And, on his best days, he's as good as anybody. And he's just an absolute lights out shooter, and absolutely humbles me every time we shoot together. And so it's just been cool to see, we kind of started out in the exact same place, took different paths that both were our passions, and we're able to both, do well with what we loved. And now we get to enjoy it together. Jack's getting more into hunting all the time, and I'm getting more into the competition stuff all the time. And so, and I sit here and say that as somebody who didn't qualify for state. So that's I'm a little bit of I'm kind of putting my foot in my mouth there, but yeah, so that's kind of how the competition thing started for me.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Neil.
So you get a pass for still being in school. You only got to do it once if you pass them. So
okay.
I understand. It's hard to get out on the weekends and get there. It's like, I might make it, I might not. But you're in school, you already paid for them, you got to be there regardless. You might as well go finish them out, finish strong. Where archery's always going to be there on the weekend. That's the best thing about it. Fishing, killing birds, killing anything else. It's,
and it's right by my house, so I might go shoot a fun round. I'm not. I wouldn't. I don't think I was going to make a run at the gold anyway. So I think a fun round. I might go shoot a little fun round and just to see everybody and everything. And
what was the last class you shot in? Were you 45 or 50?
I was 45 last class I shot in.
Okay, there you go. Known 45.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Are you your buddies with Levi? He ought to convert you to the yardage judging. I think Jack's been doing it for the Triple Crown. Jack's shooting known for the ASA and unknown for the Triple Crown.
Yeah, Jack's been talking to me about how he's been trying the judging thing. I think he's having fun with it. I think he loves the challenge too, and I think he loves doing something different. The known guys are just getting absolutely insane. Like you cannot miss a shot in known. So it's like if you want to kind of open up the playing field a little bit more, I think the unknown's the way to go. So maybe I should try that because I definitely do not think I'll be making a run at the podium with for known, but the unknown, it also would be something useful for hunting too. I think I very, very rarely would ever take a shot without ranging it first, but in a really, in a situation where I'm like, okay, I know he's somewhere between 40 and 50 yards and I kind of got to make a quick shot. If I've been judging a bunch and, that's something I felt comfortable doing, I would do it. And so I think it would be useful for me to try that. I think it'd be fun. So,
all this put together, I got a question for you. About 4, 5, maybe 6 years ago, did Jack hit me up and loan you a sight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. I was kind of thinking. Now wait a minute. Okay, I wasn't real sure, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was telling Jack, I was like, man, I really want to get in the tournament thing, but I am, this was during one of the summers that I was out of college or that I was home from college, and I'm like, man, I really want to get into the tournament thing, but I'm broke as all get out right now. I really don't want to drop all this money on the site and stuff like that because I had a bow that I wanted to slap it all on, but I didn't really have all the accessories and stuff. So I told Jack, I was like, man, what can I do? Do you have an old sight laying around or something? And he's like, let me give somebody a call. And so, yeah, that was exactly. And then I came by the shop up there in Wellston. And I don't remember if I was returning it or getting it.
I don't remember either, but yeah, I do remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah. How's the barbecue business been?
Man, I tell you what, it's lighting up every day.
You went one day. I took my buddy because I told him, I was like, you want to go to the best barbecue place that you've ever had? We need to go down to the butcher and get some barbecue. And so my buddy, he's from that I'm living with this summer. He's from Comanche, like way southern Oklahoma. And so he was in town, and I told him, I was like, dude, we got to go grab some butcher barbecue. And so, we went there, and it was absolutely packed. I mean, I was like, they got it going on. It is rocking right now. So yeah, but it was awesome as always. So,
well, we appreciate it. I didn't want to steal the whole show, but man, putting all the pieces together, I'm sitting there going, I wonder if this is the gentleman that Jack,
yeah, it was that Sherlock.
Cool. That's right. It was that old. It was a Sherlock by Gibbs. It was one of the original style. Yeah.
I think you had a scope as well that I used. I can't remember if there was something else I loaned off you, or that you loaned to me, and I think it was just the scope that maybe came in the case with it. But yeah,
there ain't no talent.
That was what I put that on a Halon X. And that was my first tournament rig. So, yep. And that was only, I would say that was about 5 years ago. But yeah, that was when I started, shooting tournaments, and it was really, I'll be so honest, it was really uncomfortable for me at first because I had always told myself, I don't like people watching me shoot. I'd rather just go and practice on my own. I had times when I would pull up to a hunting camp and, for some reason, hunting guides, it's just like the camp. I don't know if it's because they've been out there for, 3 months with not much to see besides, a bunch of animals. And, it probably gets, there's probably between hunters, it probably gets boring out there sometimes. But guides love to watch guys shoot their bows. And so like if you're like gearing up, rigging your bow up to go out and shoot at the target around camp, every single person in camp is going to be there watching you shoot. And so honestly, there were times in hunting camps where that was some pressure for me. And I was like, man, because I'm thinking about, I'm on this really, big time hunt. There's a lot of pressure on me to perform. And so those, just literally shooting in front of hunting guides used to freak me out a ton. And so it's been good for me to put myself way far out of my comfort zone where I'm literally being judged on how, where I hit on this target. And yeah, and shooting with people who are a lot better than me. It's been really good for me. So that's why I really enjoy it.
Good. It's so 3D be your favorite, and then what after that? We're talking indoor. We're talking field.
I've never shot indoor or field, so maybe that's maybe I need to.
That's what you got. You got to try both of those. Figure out what you like.
It's called whitetail first, then 3D.
Exactly.
Deer, rubber deer, not deer at all, paper deer.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd rather be shooting at the real ones any day. I will maintain that. But Jack has been trying to get me to shoot indoor, and so I think I need to try it. I think it'd be fun, but
it just makes you stop working for a little while and see your friends. That's all it is. Which you haven't. What are you, about 23 now? 24?
Yeah, I'm turning 23 July 6th.
There you go. Give it 10 years, and everybody's married and got 2 babies, and they can never come shoot their bow with you. And
everybody's already getting married is what's crazy. I mean, it's like I've been to 2 weddings already this year, and we've got a couple more. And I mean, it's like it's happening quick. It's weird to say. It's weird for me to even say I'm 23. Feels weird to say. And then, it makes you really feel it whenever all your friends are getting married. It's like, wow, that's this, we're there. So
my undergrad buddy up in Kansas is expecting his second child, and I think she's due like November 10th or something. And I'm like, dude, do you not have a calendar? Like, that's the rut. Like, that's when they're chasing.
Get out, man.
How do you? I mean, timing. It's all timing.
For real. He's not even gonna be able to go get in the stand.
Valentine's Day, stay away.
Yep.
Do it. Just don't do it. But yeah, so I would love to see like a photo collage of your shots organized closest to farthest and like the animal, just to see like how, because I mean, sometimes he was about 42, and other times it's like, well, which one? The polar bear's got 3 or 4 arrows sent at him. But
yeah, the longest shot I ever took. The longest shot I ever took was 99 yards for an ibex in New Mexico. And anybody that's hunted ibex in New Mexico would know why that, I was driven to the point of taking a 99-yard shot that I probably was not going to make. But those animals will drive you insane. I mean, it's one of those hunts, and I've been on a couple of these now where it literally feels like you're in country that humans are not made to navigate. And that, I mean, the upper 25% of the Florida mountains in New Mexico, just that they call it the rock. The upper 25% of that mountain, it just feels like, I mean, you have no prayer of navigating on it. And so those ibex will literally get into country that is inaccessible by humans. And so, we're hunting them around the edge of these areas that, are literally inaccessible. And so that's why I was driven to take a shot like that. Missed it. And also mentally, shots with just open air behind the animal are really weird. So he was standing up on kind of a rock ledge, and all there was open air behind him. And I don't know why that makes you feel weird mentally, taking a shot like that. So missed that shot. The next farthest shot that I've ever taken, and I hit this one, was 95 yards for a follow-up on a bison. And I actually made a good shot on that one. And then the longest first shot that I've ever successfully taken on an animal, for the first shot, was on my caribou in Alaska, and that was 75 yards. And I think actually those are tied. That one's a tie. It's between my caribou in Alaska and my moose in Alaska. I've hit a caribou and a moose in Alaska at 75 for my first shot, which I'm blessed to say were both one-shot kills. So yeah, 75 I would say is the kind of pushing the limit for me.
The button shooter, wrist strap, hinge?
I go all over the board. I mean, I can't decide what I like, and so I think on both of the 75 yards, one of them would have been a what was it? Scott Sigma? Is that the thumb button?
Yep.
One of them would have been a Scott Sigma, and the other one would have been a True Ball HBC, which is still my favorite back tension. As somebody who hasn't shot a ton of back tensions, but I'd heard really good things about it, and so that's the one I bought, and that's the one I've stuck with. So I shoot that.
I got 3 of them.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
shoot.
Love that release, and so I've that's what I'm shooting if I'm in the back tension mood, and then now I've got a what do they call it? Stand thumb button.
The Onyx.
What's that?
Is it the Onyx?
It might be that one. I couldn't even tell you for sure. I've got a stand thumb button now, and then I've got a for my wrist strap. I think I've got a stand wrist strap as well. And I'm actually shooting a wrist strap currently because I've been shooting it well, but I bounce all around, and it's probably not the best habit, but I do like to bounce all around because sometimes I'll get to where, I'm shooting my back tension weird, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to go to the other side of the spectrum. And then I start punching the index finger, and then I'm going to thumb button, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to shoot the thumb button with some back tension. And then I start punching that, and then I go to back tension, and I'm like, okay, I can't punch it. So I just kind of go through all of them, and I try to keep myself, keep myself guessing with it. But yeah.
Well, with all these great hunts you've been on and all these beautiful animals, are you into taxidermy? Do you get a lot of them mounted?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I get anything that's mature, I'll get, or not mature, but anything that's something I'm real proud of, I'll get it taxidermied. So I wish I could show it on the camera, but I've got two replica bucks, one repair buck, and 2 or 3 caribou that I'm getting the antlers restained with this guy in Utah right now. And so that's just making it possible for me to mount those. The story with caribou, one of them had just shed velvet, and so his antlers, when they dried, they just became bleach white, and I didn't really want them to look like that on the mount. So he has like a combination of like wood stain and different kinds of paints and stuff that he uses. And this guy's an expert. His name is McKay Sorensen, Trapperman Antlers, if anybody ever needs to get anything restained or repaired or replicated. But he's doing the repaint on that one. And then the other 2 caribou, I told him I'm really into European heads. I just like holding the physical head of an animal. And I think they look awesome on a wall. And so I told when I killed these 2 caribou originally, which were both really, really nice bulls, I killed them on the same hunt. They're both top 15 Pope and Young, which is like crazy. And that's something I'll never do again, probably. But I told the taxidermist or the outfitter, I told him, I said, I want these European heads. And what he'd done is just gone and hung them in a tree. And so, for the whole fall, they were out there weathering and they got bleach white as well. So he's restaining all those 3 caribou heads. And then he's doing a replica on 2 whitetail bucks that I still want the Europeans on, to where I can mount the replica set of antlers. And then I've got this one buck it's on my Instagram. It's the most recent, like kind of non-typical buck I killed. He had busted off like 25 inches of antler before I got to kill him. He had this huge, like I would guess 14, 15 inch dagger that came up right in the middle of his horns, and he broke that off. And I mean, who knows where it's at. And so he's recreating all that for me. And so I get super into taxidermy, and I'm really picky about it, but I work with some great taxidermists to get my stuff done, and I'm about to have some cool stuff in the works. So I'm really excited.
I was just curious with all that and everything. What's your favorite out of all that type of stuff to eat?
I would say I love I would say my top 4 or 5 would be, I love elk. I love axis deer, is absolutely amazing. I would say the bison that I killed was great. And then sheep of any kind of wild sheep, it can be really, really good if they weren't rutting. If they're in the rut, forget about it. They'll taste probably pretty bad. But with what they eat and the way that they live, they just have a really, really tender meat. So it's really, really quality. So those would be probably my top four.
When I was doing a lot of processing and stuff, the toughest animal I ever cut up was a nilgai. Oh my gosh, that was absolutely horrendous.
Which is weird because people say I thought I heard people say they're amazing table fare, but maybe they're a bit nasty.
I don't know. It came in ice chest, and he was just having me cut it. And I'm going to tell you what, that backstrap. I mean, it was good size, huge, but oh my gosh, it reminded me a lot of a horse. Yeah, and I remember seeing some of that up at OSU and stuff. And I'm going to tell you what, that was a tough backstrap. Yeah,
I've heard you don't want to eat aoudad either. I've heard audads like that because they eat a lot of like sagebrush or a lot of those like sagebrush stems and stuff like that. And I've heard they're super tough and nasty too. I haven't tried them. The one I killed, I gave it back for camp meat. But I've heard you don't want to really mess with an aoudad. But that's also on the subject of barbecue and stuff. That's also something I'm really wanting to get into is with some of the meat that I bring home. You know, I don't consider myself much of a cook at all. But I really want to get into like getting good at like smoking meats, and I want to start, smoking my own meats, grilling all my own stuff. And I want to get like a pellet smoker. And so I might need to have you, give me a little crash course on,
that's the easiest thing you'll ever ask of me.
Yeah. All righty. I love it. Yeah.
So
I figured I might as well cook it right if I'm going to cook it, and I love having stuff I can stick in the fridge and have it ready for, if I need to pull out a meal and stuff. So, yeah.
I get asked a lot of questions, and about 2 weeks ago, I was helping a guy down in Texas. He was going to a goat cook-off, and so I was helping him with the goat stuff. So I'm telling you, man, we get asked all kinds of questions.
If you can cook a goat, you can cook anything.
That's pretty well it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to get into that. My cousin got real big into smoking. I think he's got a Yoder is the brand that he has, smoker, and he loves it. And at Thanksgiving, he did like a turkey cordon bleu at Thanksgiving one year, and I mean, it's like he makes all these cool, meat dishes, and I want to try to do some of that stuff. So I think it'd be really cool.
There you go. Well, you get something this winter and everything, holler. We'll get you fixed up.
Yes, sir. We'll do. We'll go. We'll have a big old barbecue out back with Jack and all the guys. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Best thing about indoor season, somebody's always bringing summer sausage, jalapeno cheddar. We got one of the moms in there does real good cook. She does Daphne's dishes, so she'll have like tamales or snacks or treats or something, and it's putting that indoor weight on. You got to get ready to stay warm in the November, December deer hunting weather.
One thing that'll make people that aren't comfortable with hunting is having a lot of that stuff. I mean, I've all my college friends, if you bring in a bunch of deer summer sausage or snack sticks, it's a very, very popular thing. And so, people that have no hunting background whatsoever, they're almost always willing to try it. And once they try it, it's like, man, this is awesome. Like, where'd you get this? And I'm like, well, I'm a hunter and I've harvested it myself. And so it's funny seeing like people that have never hunted or never had any exposure to it, try all these, snack sticks and stuff that you bring by, and everybody seems to love it. So
some of the best snack sticks we ever made, we used to use our summer sausage powder mix, but then I'd add a third beef jerky spice in it. Oh my gosh, dude, that made some of the best snack sticks.
Oh man,
golly, I loved it.
That's awesome. See, that'd be fun to experiment with that kind of stuff and just try to get the right blend and stuff. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys have planned for hunts or archery or anything like that? I want to hear what y'all got going.
Go for it, Neil.
Hunting for something cold to drink in the fridge. What I'm hunting for.
There you go.
No, I'll put my cameras up We had a few young ones that needed a couple years. Hunting a little 40-acre patch up at Dad's in Skytook. It's really about 4 acres of trees, but I'll hang cameras about sometime July, sometime just to start. They'll start being in velvet and stuff like that. See if there's anything worth chasing down there, but nothing planned, man. It's like I got so many more state championship archery tournaments coming up over the next, because we got Metropolis this weekend, come back, start 1st of July. It's like, I don't know where I'm going to be the first weekend, but second weekend is Kansas, Texas's state championships. Third weekend is Oklahoma. Weekend after that, Triple Crown state championship back at the Gun Club, and then Coleman. So if I survive all that, I will put my bow together with for the state broadhead shoot. I think it's mid-August. It'll be at Trosper. And then I should have my skinny arrow bow ready because there's the state 900 in early September. And then we have our ASA Fun Shoot annual meeting September 14th and 15th. So that'll probably be the hunting bow as well with field tips instead of expandables. Because I got to put broadheads on it to shoot the broadhead competition. Then I'll be hunting with my what are those things? G5 Mega Meats. So I'll put those back on with the field tips in between for the Hunter Extravaganza, because there'll be one of those. It's not called the Hunter Extravaganza. Chris Hammond hates it when I say that. I'm sorry, officially. It's the Ryan Thomason and Chris Hammond bring your bow hunting, shooting tournament thing, whatever. It's not called the Hunter Extravaganza. Sorry in advance, everybody. That's in mid-August, I think, one of those weeks. So state broadhead, that state 900, state ASA meeting / fun shoot in Enid, and then we get to deer season. And no, wait, somewhere in there, Dave, is the Yankton Roundup, the National Field and Target. I don't know if I'm
the outdoor
yeah
national field is the last week of August.
There you go. It's 2 of them though. It's one's field and one's target.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll drag myself or Dave to that, but that's on the radar. And then if I survive all of that, I might kill a couple of does this October. I like to, dude, we'll let you get out of here pretty quick. What is your favorite 7-day period in deer season to kill deer? Big deer, just any deer. I'd be like the 5th to the 12th of October. I like it early. I like it hot. I like them coming to the corn at a reasonable hour.
Yeah. If going off my history, I would say the time I've had the most success is like your very, very first hint of the rut. So I'm like keying in on late October and the first couple days in November. I killed my biggest buck ever on I think the day I actually ended up killing him. I can't remember if it was October 31st or November 1st, but it was literally, either last day of October or first day of November is the day that I killed him. I love that time period. That buck it's the biggest deer I've ever seen in my part of the woods. And he was absolutely hot as a pistol on a doe. And it was, late October, early November. And a lot of people are going to tell you, primetime ruts like November 10th, 15th. And yes, it is a lot of times, but you can kill really, really big bucks when they're kind of starting to cruise. And sometimes I'll go through a lull in October where, I'll have these bucks literally coming in, let's say my target buck coming in every single day at a certain time in daylight until September 15th or 20th, sometimes even September 25th. And then the week before season, they start doing something completely different. And a lot of people are like, oh, they know when season's coming. I don't know if they know when season's coming necessarily as much as the season is placed right in a time period where those bucks kind of start, not liking their bachelor herd buddies as much. They're, things are going inside their bodies that we're not really aware of. And I think that's kind of just happens to be the period in Oklahoma a lot of times where they start changing their pattern. And so, man, first week of October, sometimes if you get a buck that's like, okay, I'm still in my pattern, I'm still going to keep doing what I've been doing, it's money. It's perfect. But sometimes you can get really, really burned at the beginning of October. And so a lot of times if I get a buck that gets real squirrely early October, late October is when I'm going to probably get that buck slipping up again. He'll be nocturnal most of October, and then late October, either I'll have to find where he's, chasing does at, or I just hope that he starts, kind of cruising right before dark, kind of that late October range. So.
Well, that's some great insight. I mean, seriously, you if anyone here will know it, it'll be you. So I like that.
I appreciate it.
I am.
What about you, David? What have you been up to?
I haven't hunted in probably 20 years, bud. I've here in Oklahoma is about all I've done. We've done all the different birds in the world you can imagine.
Yep.
My absolute favorite hunt was turkey hunting. I'll tell you what, the ones I've taken were actually down around Noble.
Yep.
And it was and I just think there was something about chatting with him, talking his language, or just bringing him up and in. And I had to crawl up inside the middle of a deadgum cedar tree. And I just pushed the old barrel right out the edge of that. And that was absolutely a blast.
Yeah.
I had the most fun turkey hunt. I've shot whitetail. We've done all the pheasant hunting and then all the small game in Oklahoma you can imagine. But I'm going to tell you what, out of all of it, man, that turkey hunting, if I took it back up, that's where I'd go. That'd be probably the first thing. My son, he is an absolute duck loving, goose hunting guy.
Yep.
He is ate up with the waterfowl. Now he keeps telling me if I ever went with him there, he told me, he says, you'd be all in on that. So,
yeah, I think you would be. I've been getting into it. I got introduced to it, I would say, like, for real about 5 years ago, and I'm ate up with it now. And it's obviously whitetail's still my favorite, but duck hunting is honestly becoming a pretty close second. If you get on a real good duck hunt, and the highs and the lows are so big. I mean, you could have a duck hunt where you get absolutely skunked, but on the ones that are good, I mean, it's so cool hearing all those birds flying around you. And when it works, man. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You said you've hunted pheasants in Oklahoma too?
Yeah, by the Panhandle.
Okay. See, that's what I've always heard where guys get them at. And then I had a buddy literally out of the blue, just randomly, buddy of mine named Court Travis, he killed a pheasant out northwest of Stillwater last year. And I was like, man, I didn't even know pheasants existed that far south. Like, it shocked me. But I've also been hunting a little bit farther north than that recently, and they've been telling me that they have pheasant up there. But I've never seen one, but I've heard they've got them up there. So
we stayed at the Falco Lodge when we went to the ASA at the Cherokee Range. It's just 40 minutes down the road, and there are pheasants everywhere. You drive out in the morning, and you'd see in between every sign, you'd see 2 or 3 on every section, and they're just going up like in the sunshine. It's
where is that at? You said
the operation is Falco.
Okay.
Yeah, they're big. They're big duck people, but they have an upland game bird guy named Craig there, and he's fun to hang out with. He's just there. He's working the dogs right now. I bet he's probably running them. So
it's fun to kill birds. It's fun to kill birds behind a dog too. I love watching a hunting dog work. No matter what that be. I've got a duck dog now named Woodrow, and he's an awesome dog. But anything that involves hunting behind dogs, I've hunted lions with dogs, and quail and pheasant with dogs, and ducks with dogs, and it's a whole nother ball game, and it's really fun to watch them work.
Yeah.
Hard to get that dog to retrieve that bird. That broadhead kind of cuts their mouth. So maybe shotgun every once in a while just for Woodrow's sake.
I don't have no problems with that. I'm not good enough to hit him with a bow yet, but maybe that's the next thing.
Supposed to be recurve hunting pheasants with flu feathers. The big.
I've never tried those, but I've heard that's a blast. Maybe I need to try that.
I got some wood and arrows here. Come on, sometime we'll make you some.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good stuff. Well, Lincoln, I want to thank you for coming and enlightening people on some hunts that normal everyday person might not ever go on, but appreciate you bringing it back to target archery and encouraging people that we all grew up shooting at 20 yards, and if you can put them in a pie plate, you're ready to deer hunt. But it's like, man, there's so many more levels to this, to people that want to do it in any capacity, that I think we got a lot of good information out there this time.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm glad I could come on and chat with you guys. Always love it when we get to, and hope to see you guys at a shoot here soon. I'm trying to make it I promise I'm trying to make it to one, even though I didn't.
There's 1 or 2, sometimes 3 every weekend. So get your school done, and keep Jack out of trouble. I know I've sent you bail money for him specifically.
Yeah.
So,
you know how wild little Jack is. Yeah.
No phone calls between 2 and 6 a.m. and we're good.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really, really enjoyed it. So
Hey, you bet. And Lincoln, this fall, I'm being serious. Holler at me if you need something.
okay, sounds good. I'd love to. Yeah, we need to all get together.
All right, guys, that's all I got. Y'all be good. Be safe.
Thanks, guys.